My goal today is to actually get in and to explain to everyone here how to start the quest. And so I'm going to go ahead and proceed with that by first going to our Luma. And this is, of course, our touch point for where we're storing all the information. You would have already received an invite. And if you didn't, then, of course, there generally will be an invite inside of your, well, anywhere. There's going to be an invite, any place that you generally have access to. And that invite, which will be in the description even here, well, you would not be here if you didn't have that invite. Okay, excuse me. All right, so that means that if you have it, then you will now be privy to this latest newsletter that went out. And I know that I turned it also into a post. So let's see if it did that for us. It did not. So let's just go ahead and look through the newsletter itself. And in this newsletter, which I'll also forward into the announcements area, so you'll have it, it actually gives you the complete rundown of exactly what is going on with this project and how to gain access. And I'm just going to pull from my own notes here, which is this exact same thing, but you will have the links that I share today inside of your email box if you've already registered for the Luma. And if you haven't, then it will be in the description at any point that you see this video. So I'm going to just pull this in really briefly and just start off here by checking my notes, making sure I let everybody know for sure we're here to really grow together. So if you can share it, share it. It's already a post now on Secret Energy. You can also use share and earn. So that means that anyone that comes in and actually does something with that link and then makes a financial transaction, then you'll also get a credit for it also. And that's just all a part of our toroidal economy. We're kind of losing the word circular economy these days because we're spinning up our toroidal economy that actually allows it to be very mindful of the transaction of the energies. So if you put some effort in, then you should, or you put some input, then you should see some output. So how we're going to begin is we're going to first talk about this, the prizes. Okay, so the prizes and what that's going to consist of. So this is going to start today at 1 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time, right? And that's 2 p.m. Central Time. And then it's going to end August the 12th at midnight, okay? And in this process of the quest, which I'm going to show you here in a moment, first place winners will receive 2 Warriors of Love NFTs and 1 Vector Equilibrium IRL, or in real life. I think the approximate value on that right now, based on how ETH is moving, is about $2,500. And that's actually going up as we speak. Second place winner will actually receive 2 Warriors of Love NFTs. Third place winner will receive 1 Warrior of Love NFT. And then also we have a raffle, because in these quests, when you complete certain quests, you win tickets. And we'll also take all of those tickets and put them inside of a raffle and pull winners. And the winners, the first winner we pull will also receive a Warrior of Love NFT. And the second place winner, or the second winner we will pull from that raffle, will also win it. So there are multiple opportunities to actually win. Also, as you're going through the process, certain things will award you ohms, which you know is our protocol inside the platform, redeemable for anything inside of the platform. As far as the store is concerned. And then also there will be some cool items in some of the unlocks that we have in there. I think one of those is golden intonations that you'll be able to enjoy. So this is an awesome run. It also allows us to create something to where we are preparing you for the process that even if you don't also win a NFT, or you just want to acquire some more anyway, that you will be able to do that, not only whitelisting, but also setting yourself up, because if setting yourself up for the proper process of putting an NFT in your wallet, because if you're new to cryptocurrency, that may be something that you don't exactly understand how to do. So through this process, we're going to make it super easy. And let me show a little bit about that now. So where I'm at now is I'm inside of a link that is also provided inside of that tutorial. And that link is in relation to our what you could say is our Web3 Launchpad. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Our Web3 Launchpad, because it does allow us to actually connect with your Ethereum ID, so that way we can airdrop things to you. And it does also allow you to be able to interoperate with our Discord, which is actually how you would enter this. So it's not required that you have your wallet and everything right away. We do encourage you to do so, and we give you some quests around that. But you can actually dive into this by just having a Discord account. Okay. And so for those that don't know about Discord, you will find also a link inside the material, and it will get you to Discord. Discord is available on all devices, computers, cell phones, laptops, iPads, you name it. It's all there. And Discord is generally the running standard right now for managing projects like this, especially when it has stuff related to DAOs and related to NFTs, where we're going to need to give you authorized access to certain rooms and things like that. So I'm just giving you a heads up that everything that needs to start with your process of getting into the quest will start with Discord and getting that downloaded and getting that on your phone. And you will also find now a link to our Discord inside of Luma. Let me kind of show that here. Let me see if I can go in here. We just activated this yesterday. We kind of kept it off because we didn't want everybody kind of pouring into Discord, especially since nobody's in there now. But now you'll see on the right side, you should actually see that you're able to jump into Discord and make it happen. And so, yeah, this is actually the benefit of today is it's not one of those very long processes. I want everyone to be able to have time to go through white paper if they need to go through white paper, to set up things inside of your account if you need to set up some stuff to go ahead and get started. And then as you start diving into this, since we're getting prepped up on this side as far as admins are concerned, as you start diving into the quest, we're going to be here approving the process of you going through the quest. So just remember, there's lots of stuff here. We're probably still going to be, I did see a couple big projects in here the other day, but we're probably still going to be one of the largest projects inside of this Web3 application right now. That which should attract some additional attention. And as we keep merging into other spaces, because remember, Secret Energy is already a community, and we're actually bringing our community more and more online just in the awareness of the moves that we're making. We have lots of productivity tools. And so, different members of the communities like different things, but we are trying to get everyone in the community to really focus on at least these next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and what's coming out, because it will shape and form the future of Secret Energy Foundation, and Creator DAO. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take a moment, since it's only us here inside of the Zoom, and answer any questions around the project or starting the quest. Again, I didn't want to spend a bunch of your time today, but I did want to make sure that this is very refined. I'm also throw this up on YouTube because I know they're going nuts over there. What happened? Hey, the registration has been going out for months. So let me see here. So in order to ask a question, I only ask that you type the word question first and then the question. And you can do that inside of Zoom. We're going to give about 5 minutes for that to populate. And let's see, what can I talk about in the meantime without kind of spoiling some of the next presentations. Actually, in the next presentations, I'm going to be talking more about the vector equilibrium. As you know, that this is the IRL, or the in real life, that we're going to give away along with this winning, along with the winnings from these quests. And the vector equilibrium is actually not in circulation right now. It just was complete only 1 month ago. This is actually 3 months. Excuse me, I wish it was 3 months. It takes 3 months to polish brass. This is actually around 3 years in the making. It's completely conceived from metaphysical principles of generating not only more energy in the environment, but also giving you something to fidget with. I guess they call that fidgets now. Something to fidget with that'll actually pump energy and element essence into your body while you're going through your meditations, or maybe your meetings, or your daily bills, or whatever you're doing. And so it's great that that's actually, this got complete right around the time of the launch of this project. So we were like, let's just roll them all together. And so the first vector equilibriums that will hit circulation will hit circulation because of this project. Also, inside of the Warriors of Love, as you know, there's only 999 plus one NFTs. And in the last 20, there are what we call the goddesses. So there's 20 final NFTs. They're all, let me make sure I get this right, ultra rare, because ultra rare. Okay, so excuse me, they're super rares, because ultra rare is over super rare. You'll learn that in a while. But they are all super rares, and they also contain a cube octahedron. Our brother Sven, was going in on the art, and he created an attribute to where it holds the cube octahedron in their hand, kind of like this. And if you get any of those, and you also get a vector equilibrium, also inside of the mint itself, of the 999, I think there's about 10 cube octahedrons kind of sprinkled as Easter eggs through that. So if you pull a Warrior of Love, and it does have that cube octahedron inside of their hand, which will look like a black box, then you know that you have one of the NFTs that allow you to do that. Now, we're going to also have a pre-sale. I am still waiting on questions. It looks like I've been very proficient at answering all of them because there are none. We are going to do a pre-sale. The pre-sale is going to be 72 hours before the mint. The mint date, I believe, is August the 22nd. I got to double check on that, but I'm pretty sure. So that means 3 days before we go public. So everyone will actually have the opportunity, or anyone can have the opportunity to pick up a Warrior Love NFT. We're actually going to do a pre-sale with those who have whitelisted. I can tell you there's about 500 people on the whitelist now, but you never know what's going on whitelist. We kind of want to do it like old school ICO days, where first come, first serve, and we weren't going to kind of create this white list of marketing techniques. I just kind of was like, okay, that's old. We got 15 white lists today if you get in here and blah, blah, that just sounds like you're trying to corral something. How we're doing it is we have 3 series of this. We have the ones that are going to receive it from the airdrop. We also, because if you understand that NFTs are tokens in themselves, so the scarcity of that token is really what creates the value. So the first thing that we're doing is we have the NFTs available initially through the mint, and then at a certain point, we are going to retain approximately 322 NFTs if they do not sell. And what this does is it allows us to put those NFTs in the DAO treasury, and then it allows us to create more scarcity around those NFTs. And then what we'll do is we'll kind of vote and do some proposals in the future. If we choose to list those, we'll get some communal input on that, just based on, again, how much that value should accrue, because it does take more of the NFTs out of circulation. Of course, everybody would love to sell out, but we're more of thinking that we actually have to just leverage everything properly in order to not only survive the water that we're in the cryptocurrency space, but to also thrive and to allow our members to thrive. I will also say that, when the NFT or cryptocurrency craze alike was happening, even back in 2017, the crypto phase was happening. I guess you could say that, some would say that would be the best time to launch. I want you to think about this. Some would say, hey, when everybody likes it and loves it, that's the best time to launch. And I don't believe so. At first, I was in that mindset, maybe late last year, and I was like, man, we got to get to this launch because everything is going so well right now. But I realized just how backwards that kind of mindset is, especially I was schooled more and more, as I said, on how to create a monetary policy and what an economy is really about if you have that responsibility for your tribe. And the truth is that you actually want to launch when everything is down or on the floor or close enough to the floor. Why? Well, because there's really no way to go but up. But if you launch and everything is going well, like many of these other projects, they launched and they got that huge reception because everybody was just in the space at that time. Yeah, they got a lot of money at that time. But now, especially if they had to keep that in the original in the original coin, it just would go down to almost like 20%. And that is, of course, it really dents the morale. And so there is a timing thing, I believe, to this. Yeah, you can benefit in the beginning by taking bringing everything to bringing it all out, when everybody loves it. But what we really see is that if we bring it in when everybody is kind of like, there's been some movement on the chart. So some folks are now like, okay, is the coast clear? We do know we have some impending financial situations to deal with globally. Some have put that into question is, are these real assets that we should be investing in? So there's a lot of stuff to consider. But what we also have to consider is our sovereignty. That's the most important thing. And what I see within the DAO and what I see within the blockchain is the ability to begin to sell on, if you may, and move on from these old structures that have so much weight, some call it karma, on them, that when you get involved, it's almost like guaranteed that you don't really receive what you want to receive out of the whole venture. Meaning the American dream ends up becoming an American nightmare, and capitalism just doesn't work because it doesn't empower the tribe. Okay, so it looks like we got plenty of questions in here. So I guess I ran on enough. So I'm going to just start here and answer this question. So someone said, if we have already completed some of the quests, an example, say in the Coinbase account, et cetera, how would that translate into Crew 3? So how Crew 3 works is every time you complete a quest, it will ask you to submit a certain type of proof for that quest. So if you have some of these things already, all you have to do is actually just comply with the proof of that and send it to us. And that means you complete the quest already. And we know that there's some quests in here that some will have completed already, but there are some quests, since we wanted to make sure that we covered everything, that we want to make sure everyone has or has gone through, because that will actually put you in a position to keep building with this as we continue to go forward. The next question here is, are we able to bypass, and that's another thing, that there's no one in the system. It is, if you're looking at the page now, it tells you it opens in 2 hours. So everything is starting with no one that has previously gone through the quest. So everyone gets a chance to start at the same time. But as I said, we peppered tickets through this because it's kind of the luck of the draw. So if you actually have some tickets, then just because you may have not made first, second, third place, there's still opportunity for you to actually win. Let me see here. It says, if we have, are we able to bypass or check mark a quest that has been complete? Okay, so that's the same question. So again, once you submit it, we authenticate it. So the thing about any type of gamification is that it has to be authenticated, or else it could be frauded, right? And that's everything around gamification, utilities, tokens. There's also, you could have a community hack, and that's, of course, if the community's not in alignment with what's being created, and they, just choose to kind of dump the asset and things. So you have to educate around the space, and you have to create the entire process, and that's what we've done. So for the record, if you put anything, or excuse me, if you have done anything already, you can come in here and do it again, submit proof, and then we'll actually clear it. And there are 3 of us now. There probably will be more if we feel like we need more to actually assist us in going through these proofs. So they're manually at this stage approved. There are some automatic ones, but we're going to be on point for the whole duration of the next few weeks to make sure that quests get approved right away. Certain quests certain levels don't unlock until you've completed certain quests. So that's why we want to make sure that we're very cohesive with how often we're getting to approving anyone who has completed a quest. The next question is are we, let me just put all this on the top here. Okay, there we go. I submitted my application on Luma for Secret Energy Foundation. How long does it take to get approved? It actually should get approved somewhat immediately. What happens is that you may need to check your spam folder. I did see that there were quite a few members that did not actually respond back to, there's something that Luma sends out and it says, okay, you're now approved. Click on this to basically fill out your application. So check your folder, and if you don't see anything, hit us up in support at the bottom right of our websites. If you're on Secret Energy, you'll need to go into the right menu, go to support, and we'll get you taken care of there, and we'll see what's going on. But definitely check the spam folder. The next question here is, if we have been whitelisted to purchase a Vector Equilibrium, what does that mean? And will we be able to purchase it from the store? So so there is actually no, what you would say is, waitlist. Okay, so that I've been only dealing with whitelists these days. So waitlist, very close. If you're on the wait list for a Vector Equilibrium, what that means is that when Vector Equilibriums are placed into the public, then they will then be available on the website. Right now, there's 30 vector equilibriums in the world. Also, every vector equilibrium is registered. It also is in an array, and that means that vector equilibriums are configured in a way where each vector is dependent upon the other vector. So all the configurations are the same, and that's what makes each vector equilibrium unique. And so what we decided to do, again, because we got about 20 vector equilibriums that'll go out in this project. Hopefully we do completely go through all the NFTs. About 30 of them. So that's how many are done. And now we're in the process of actually creating more, but they are time consuming. It's just one of those things when you're really working on something. We've tried to shave down how long it takes to put one together, but it is what it is. So that's what that means, that the moment that they become public, along with the cosmic clocks, then they will go into the store and then you can purchase them. They still will be registered. We've been kind of thinking about if we wanted to put them all on the blockchain, or at least make that an option, because what that does do is it also opens up your ability to be able to liquidate it. So let's say, for instance, if generally, let's say you buy, I don't know, a PlayStation 2 or 3 years later, the best that you can do is probably put it on eBay and try to sell it there. Versus if we put vector equilibriums on the blockchain, it does mean 2 or 3 years later, based on the value of that asset, you would be able to list it rather easy and redeem it a much more easier and for probably a greater value than you would with something like PlayStation. So that is something that we're considering. And that's why I personally wanted to take myself through the process of understanding how to really work with these quote unquote contracts and these digital assets so we can know what we can do for the tribe with them. I'm going to keep going here. And it says, why are the goddesses so rare? I love that question, because they just are. No, see the thing. Okay. So this is the genesis. Like I personally believe woman came first, or the divine feminine came first. Some have their own aspect of things, but hey, when I got here, I came through a woman. So I'm just kind of going with that blueprint. So in this case, I felt like that it would be an honor to literally bring on, which is the number one NFT, or that's the +1 in the +1 of 999, to start with that, because when you turn your light on, that is actually a name of a very powerful energy. So we decided, hey, we're going to keep all of this in alignment. We're going to launch with that. There are male hummingbirds, and we decided that we would do the genesis with the female hummingbirds. This was, of course, decided between me and Sven and others that were working on the project. And it's also because the males are actually carrying slightly different attributes too. And what we're doing is that each of the attributes of our NFT actually have a story with them. As you know, the objects that they're carrying are metaphysical objects. And so we're building out a Git book, if you may, or an entire book on those objects. And it's like a metaphysical pamphlet that would come along with these NFTs, or a person that has one or was interested in one can read through and also learn a bit about metaphysical knowledge and very powerful relics and items that have been known to be used throughout history, herstory, including mudras. This next question is, as a global community, given the nature of how the currency function, is the eventual goal of sustainable ecosystem for participating members to spend and maintain the tribe's economy, as in cash app level functionality, and not only with the tribe, but towards other ecosystems or fiat markets? The question is I can understand what you're saying, but this is kind of two different things. So I'll just kind of address them that way. So what we're doing is, because everything is coming in stages, and that's why we have a roadmap. I definitely suggest taking some time and looking at the roadmap, because it's definitely not about wishful thinking. You really do need to know what you're doing, especially when you're managing economies like this. And so we have a mentorship from SuperDAO, which is a massive DAO, massive startup that is now coming into the DAO space and mentoring other DAOs. And what we've been encouraged to do, because by the term decentralized autonomous organization, it really means that there's actually nothing being run without a automated system running it. Okay. And so what we always say is what we're doing now is we're aspiring to be DAOs. And that means that we're taking everything that we have and seeing how much of it we can begin to make DAOable, right? Or doable, right? And in this way, that means that something that we can literally assign to a community something that we can take proposals on, and those things being able to impact the bottom line of the community and make it better. So that's everything from the finances within the community to the actual information that is inside the community, some of the big decisions that are being made. And so obviously to do that, you would need to know more about the community in itself. And I think it would be very foolish just to turn over everything that you've been working on, especially for the last 12 years for us, to someone or some groups of people who don't know it completely. So what we're doing is we're inviting everyone to come in and to start this process with us of actually beginning to, what you would say is deregulate a social network. Right. And so we're going forward with more than a social network, an ecosystem, deregulating a social ecosystem by first starting with the governance models. And what the governance models is, of course, is, how are the decisions being made? What kind of councils? Like, the thing is, it's not just one council. There's not just one thing going on. So we're in this exploration, and it's been going very well. We've actually been having within the team private meetings about different aspects of Secret Energy that we're ready to begin to implement inside of the foundation. And also, just to make it very clear that Secret Energy is Secret Energy. Secret Energy Foundation is this new venture, and Creator DAO is the first DAO or sub DAO inside of that venture. And what that allows us to do, because Creator DAO is again, it's centered around software. And the reason is because, as you've seen, there's been some shady utilities over the last few years that NFTs alike, along with tokens, have been launching, and it's gotten everyone in trouble because it's basically a Ponzi scheme. So you need something that is going to be a driver to the bottom line of having value. And so then you got to look at the entire economy. You got to look at the world. You got to look at the condition that it's in. You got to look at what people like, what they don't like, what they're investing in. And then you try to design something around that. So for Secret Energy, we've been designing social experiences for 12 years, and we're already way ahead of most factions, especially when it comes to diffusion models, which are basically ways that artificial intelligence are able to speed up the process of creation. So this is book writing, this is illustration. These are things that you may spend 2 or 3 years trying to get a book out, and then dealing with Creator DAO, you can get that out in 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months. Basically, it crunches the time span. Also, we wanted to create something where others would get together and begin to share their skills. But that in that application itself, it's not always just getting 30 or 40 people inside of a room and having them try to figure out how they're going to connect something. That's chaos. We wanted to use software to match people up with things that they would be involved in, either investing in or creating. And so these are a part of our Toronto economy applications. Many know that we have been pursuing text to image. We also own major assets around text to image artificial intelligence. And so what this means is that eventually everything in that space is at some point going to come to us. At least that's how we're poising ourselves. And we've actually already began to work with diffusion models and kind of collaborate. What I would say is different data sets, because as you see, you have Google Imagine, you have Midjourney, you have DALL-E 2, you have I think the latest one is Alexa. And so you have new diffusion models that are capable of doing some incredible things, but this is just the beginning, and that's just only one field. We're looking at staying at the tip of exploring those technologies and see how we can apply that to our community in order to actually give us the advantage within the space that we're going into. And some may have qualms with that, but what I will say is that if you notice, we're all using the computer now. And I'm now 43. And so I got a chance to see Prodigy and Miracle Online start. And I did see quite a few of the old heads at that point refuse to actually use the computer and really say that it was going to be obsolete in a very short period of time. Because after all, nobody wants to buy anything online. Now look, and if you can ask a person at that time if they could learn how to use it then or understand something about it then, if they would have been in a better position now, then they would, of course, agree, yes, they would. And so what we see is that technology throughout history has always been what either is going to give you the advantage or disadvantage. Unfortunately, the world is centered around warfare technologies, especially right now. However, we've seen that within many of these new applications, there is something that will allow us to be able to get closer toward sovereignty by giving us our time back. I always feel like even when we go to the job and things like that, that we're buying time, and we'd rather spend that time with our children or training ourselves or things that we love. And so if we can get that time offset somewhere else, then that gives us the time freed up to begin to create and begin to develop. So I guess what I meant to say, just to answer that first part of the question, is that this is a process of getting everyone else also educated about what it would take to manage something like this, right? And as it is, and then how we can move forward into what it's going to become. Now, when we start talking about an economy is when you have your own token, basically. And as you know, we've held off on minting a token. We do have one in mind. We have everything set up around that. And also purchasers of the NFTs, as you'll see inside of the tokenomics, will actually be awarded tokens. So read through the tokenomics, you'll see it there. But what we're going to do is we're going to launch the token the moment that we have the utility that is going to use the token, and not one before the other. Because we believe right now that is going to be the big legal linchpin of it all right now. Is, did you start a token before you actually had a real use case and a protocol in a live, not in beta, but live, using that token? Because other than that, it's a security if not. And that's, to me, what I feel like in studying everything is something that's going to happen. And so we for sure are going to be more towards that, remaining in compliance but not conforming. And so that means that we want to definitely deploy our utilities and then launch our token at the time that our utility deploys, because that will be its initial use case and its continuous use case. Okay, so I trust that it was somewhat of a longer question, but I do appreciate the question because it allows us to bring out more. So the part I didn't understand was when it says, as in Cash App level of functionality, not only with the tribe, but towards other ecosystems and fiat markets. And I'm assuming that, we're basically talking about maybe like a Binance, basically like an exchange where you really have a counter and you have the ability to begin to trade financial instruments. I would say that is a little bit further out in our roadmap and not something that's listed. And the reason why is there's a lot that entails. It's, of course, not just saying, hey, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And yeah, we're going to do that. Anything you say, it's about really being on point and like, well, to get to that level, first of all, there's things that you can do that can really secure the community and the economy within that community before you would ever try to interoperate with other currencies, especially fiat currencies, et cetera, and the type of licensing and also the inspections from the financial enforcement enforcement networks, and all the information that you would need to have about the people who are actually using those applications if you want to remain in compliance, et cetera. So when you use public instruments, okay, just for the record, which is fiat, you're then required to go public with whatever is going on. It needs to be transparent, and that's the law. If you do not use those instruments and you're using private instruments, well, private is private. The only discussions that are supposed to take place about those instruments are within the members of those who are using those instruments. And that's, again, why the DAO is so powerful. And it gives us a way to, again, to operate with each other as a club under a manifesto, a charter, and in every tense, an oath, or basically an agreement between all of us that, hey, this is what we're agreeing to. And that's why I invite everyone, again, to read the white paper, because if you read in the manifesto, which I'll go ahead and link here, the manifesto is telling you what we're agreeing to and what we're all about. And then that way we don't get to any kind of level where there is any kind of confusion about what we're about. And we've stated that. So anybody who is walking into our TP through our door into our tribe is agreeing to the manifesto, and their paths of getting in, just so you understand NFTs and don't think these are just JPEGs, your path to getting in is that NFT. And then when you have that NFT, it says that, well, based on how this venture continues, if everything goes well, the value has to increase. If it falls apart, if no one supports it, if no one believes in it, the value will decrease. And so this is how we see things just from the most stringent level, and why we're building in certain safeguards to make sure that we remain stable. So I trust that again, answers enough of the question. This next question is I was walking through the setup with Crew 3 and it's now asking for a wallet password because I use Token Pocket. Where would I find that? Is there a secret one you need to keep in a safe password, or is the password I would have created? Well, so the two integrations there are Discord. I'm not sure. There's one. I think it's called Wallet. We have not really explored that way of signing up because well, you used it, but I don't think that many people use it. So what I would probably do is refer to your own password, because generally when you're unlocking something in crypto, there's generally a password that you need to put in there. I would feed it that and see what happens. Also, I would just say you could just back up and go through Discord and then attach your Ethereum address, which is the most important one, into your profile. So you'll see an area there where you can attach your Ethereum address into the profile. This next question is when clicking on the white paper link, when I asked to send ETH details, is this a part where one's crypto balance needs to have a minimum limit, which exchange is South Africa, Binance, and Coinbase not applicable? That is not what's happening there. What we're doing with that Ethereum address is we are just putting it into the whitelist. So what this means is that when we open up the pre-sale and the public sale alike, depending on how it's coordinated, but mainly the pre-sale, you will be able to actually make a transaction from that wallet. If you're not whitelisted, then that transaction will not go through. So that's what that's for. So you can generate a brand new Ethereum address and just use that, and it won't be about the balance that determines whether or not it's going to get approved. The next question here is, does one still need to submit an application on Luma for Secret Energy Foundation, even though they're currently on this platform? I'm assuming the platform you're speaking of is Luma, and if that is the case, no. So you should see Secret Energy Foundation there. This is the Luma is separate than the Secret Energy website itself, which of course is a social network. So there'll be a big difference between the two. Luma is more of an event manager, so you'll be able to see all the events and things going on there. So if you're talking about that you're in there already, then you're in the right place. The next question here is, can you briefly explain the NFT and the quest in the most simple terms? I asked a teenager and he knew more than me. I feel that I cannot be the only one who isn't 100% in the know about this. And was there any introductory information about this? For sure, there was some introductory information. I would actually refer to the white paper to just read through that section, because with writing, you do kind of have to spell it out really and put it in layman's terms. And I think that it does it a lot better there, because the NFT thing, it could get a bit wild. Like, again, the youngsters understand it. There has been, again, a huge NFT craze that's surrounded around imagery. However, what we see is that it's also the real process of going through creating a DAO is that you need to grant those non-fungible tokens. So that's what we're using them for. And it just so happens that they're amazing, meaning they look good. And they also allow us to seek a potential adoption with others that are potentially outside of the community that have not heard about us yet. So that's as much as I'll explain on the NFT, just because, yes, on the first build especially, there was some stuff talked about it there. And then in the white paper, it gets in more detail. Okay, so the next question here is, do we need to whitelist to be in the contest? I have half an ETH. No, you actually could be in the contest whether you whitelist or not. I think one of the quests is to whitelist. You can always whitelist, but it is not contingent that you even purchase an NFT to actually be in the contest. Or whitelist. The question is, on Secret Energy finds the Luma site, and I don't see the newsletter option. I only have home calendar, members library, and notifications. Okay, so what we're actually going to do at the end of the call, we create a post. Who knows where that post is? I probably can send a link to it also here in a moment, just so you can have it in your records. It was sent out also in the email, but we're going to make it an announcement, and that'll allow it to go right in that same area as even this video today. Right. So if you wait probably about, I would say at least 2 hours after today's build, then you'll see a new announcement come up in Luma, and then you'll have everything that you need. Okay. The question here is the DAO similar to a native tribe? And maybe you heard some of my previous builds, and if not, you're spot on that the first use case of a DAO or the DAO legal structure was actually to find a system of governance that indigenous people could govern themselves by, since they were not held within or bound within the laws or the new laws of the land, right? So that was the original structure of a DAO, which was based more on like a tribe where everyone has input about the decisions that are being made. The last question, or one of the second to the last question here, is I'm a neophyte on this and I wanted to learn though. Well, this is a great time to learn. I started as a neophyte myself. I kind of felt like it's weird because I'm coming from a technical background, but it's like you would need to have for this to just come on like, oh, okay, I get what he's talking about or what they're talking about. You would need to have a extensive education in politics and economics, right? And who's going to school for that, right? So politics, because governance and governance models is what you would study when you're on that career. At least some legal stuff you would need to kind of look into, contracts and understanding how instruments work. And again, that's not everybody's job these days. So that's where the first kind of confusion is going to be, because we don't really understand how things translate from sometimes paper and assets to real life as far as the details and how things increase in value, decrease in value. We're kind of buying a lot of stuff and then taking everybody's word for it, but sometimes not looking at the direct mechanics. And as I said, the governance, because when you're creating something within a community, because our goal is to work in the community and to create value within our community. What happens outside of the community, that's on outside the community, because that's not really under our control. And so because of that, that means that when we're creating things and when we're building things, we have to really understand what we're creating and what we're building. And so I invite everyone here, and that's also how we wrote the white paper, is to understand step by step, what do you really need to know more about? Like when you start pouring into the charter, then you're going to now get into that more of that governance side of education, where you can see why what you're really doing is putting in black and white what people generally just verbally agree on these days. And so this is that meticulous. And when this is filed, this is filed. Like if you notice how in your average government, there's a lot of standardized processes. There's a lot of standardized forms. 1099 is a standardized form. If you name the number, then you can get the form. There's other numbers. There's other forms. And so when you think about creating your own community, sometimes people will look at that kind of stuff and be like, wow, I'm not going to bore myself with creating all these different forms. Then you're not trying to have a community then, because there needs to be that structure. And you may not like that, but when it comes to the records, the annuals, the verifications, and those kind of things, it's necessary for even those that are coming after you to have, so they'll know how things worked and how things were put into play. And so when we're creating our own community, then it challenges us to actually begin to go into a structure that allows us to have those same things. Now, if you look at the modern legal structure, though, it's kind of archaic, because, a lot of stuff is still written on paper. A lot of stuff is not autonomous. Almost everything is not autonomous. The governments actually that we have now could go forward in autonomy and actually have the processes such as licenses, such as judgment, sentencing, all that kind of stuff laid out in algorithms that actually really do judge non-biasly. But at this stage, again, it's someone manipulating it and touching it. And this is why we want to continue to go forward, because the plan is, long after even the founders of Secret Energy have left the planet, and gone into the interverse or whatever the spaces are next, that this will still run exactly the way it ran when it reached its climax. And that's what we're optimizing for. And the DAO is really the only thing that allows you to be able to do that, because as we create more value in what we're doing, that's why, again, read the white paper, because Secret Energy is also research and development. It has a research and development department, especially within Spirit Techs. And we've been researching and developing spiritual technologies and building those technologies. And then now we're bringing those technologies to market. So the overall value, again, is accrued based on what are the things that we have that others want. Now, if you take this into more of an archaic setting, it's more of like if your tribe produces furs, special berries, special dyed fabrics, then there's a value. Your tribe has a value amongst other tribes. And I will speak, because the question was asking earlier, for sure, our goal is to link in with more sub-DAOs and to even be able to lend our template as we debug it completely, make it open source. And this is basically a template of how to begin to create these communities within your own nucleus. And that's why I said we're pursuing software, because when we create toroidal economy Web3 applications, anyone running a Web3 system, which is pretty easy to load in because everything's on the user's side, then they will be able to immediately create things like what Kickstarter was supposed to be, but really start kickstarting things that actually come to completion, and then rewarding those that actually get involved with that with more than just the product, but actually the benefit of the revenue from the product as it's brought to market. So those are the kind of applications that we want to bring in the space. And from a technical level, it's not actually very complicated. That's another thing. It's really about the conception itself and then following through. But from a technical level with the developers, they can eat this kind of stuff for breakfast, especially our developers, because they've had to work on a lot harder things. So it looks like that we are actually at the end of the questions. Let me just kind of look through here really briefly. All right. Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be the last question that we're going to take since we're sitting at 12 o'clock, well, at least on my side of things, and then we got about one more hour until the quest officially launched, so we want to get everything prepped up for that. And, of course, maybe I can get this video out before, everything happens so they won't be too mad at me. So the last question here is, if NFTs are an individual location upon the blockchain, could an individual register their modal for labor as an NFT? So we can trade one's value for a personal labor at a 9-to-5 as in a way to maintain each of our value and uniqueness. Now, that is actually the same structure of the core foundation to even indentured servants. And we put a post about this just recently on Secret Energy. You'll find it. Someone will probably be able to share that link with you, but you can tell that it's about economy. It says something about getting out of debt slaves, this kind of thing. But what this is about is this is about that. So indentured servant certificates, which would in certain ways be like instruments of the person. So it's like being able to bond a person to an agreement or a contract of future work. Okay, so a indentured servant would basically come in and they would say, well, there's going to be a cost for you to get on this boat. There's going to be a cost for you to finally get there, to settle in, the place that you're going to stay. And we know you don't have all that money now, so we're going to indemnify you for that money in the future and by putting you into this contract. So yes, this is possible. And I can't say there wouldn't be some type of wholesome way to do that. But still understand, ultimately that is the system that is being used now in relation to how one can bind themselves to a contract and then kind of push out the value of themselves onto a contract. But to be honest, that's exactly how everything works already. What you're talking about, it's just often not seen that way, or the blockchain is not being used. So I would imagine, since you can even imagine it, then you can actually put it on the blockchain. I think there has been some folks that have been putting themselves on the blockchain. Again, my personal opinion on it, I don't know. Maybe we should beta test that a little bit more for you. That could be retroactive, in the future. So that's my answer to that question. All right, so there's some questions that probably have been answered. So someone says, is there any hope that those without having 60% ETH poor need love too, especially when they are in the right place in the right time but missing the resources? Roll the dice. I've never seen anybody who didn't want something that didn't get it. And what I mean by that is go through the quest. That's what we made available for those who we know that will not be able to participate at this stage in the funding rounds. Just remember that when you're creating something, there is going to be funds needed because you're going to need to pay for it. And what we have found then in some of our models is that we've kind of taken on that responsibility ourselves. And when you want to scale, you want to give others that responsibility. And also that means that they get a part of that growth. And so we're encouraging everyone that can to, really go ahead and grab a Warriors of Love NFT. And then also I would tell you that sharing this project, one does not know what the future may hold, but you can guess. Sharing this project and doing, again, what we have in the quest, that we're always watching. We're not like one of those outfits where it's like a robot. There are real people here. We see real actions. There's still NFTs that are available for collaborations. And so this is just what we're doing right now. But I always say, get in where you fit in. I'm sure you'll find something. The next question here is, I think, yeah, that was our last question. So I trust that as we continue to go forward, that everyone will be able to see the value in actually what we're creating. And if you can't, keep checking us out, because we're going to keep launching more and more stuff. We already have a brand new GUI for our system. We already are deploying a text to image system that is working great. So in the future, we can only see continuous great things from Seeker Energy. Wholeness and Balanced Vibrations. I will check you out during the next event, which let's see what that is. So it looks like that our next event is going to be, drum roll, NFTs are ownership certificates. So that means that if you did want to learn more about NFTs and why we even chose to go that route, then on the 25th, which is actually 3 days from now, that would be a great one to jump in. And of course, if you want to get in a little bit closer with Seeker Energy, understand that we do have ambassador training, or what we call sovereignty mentorship, where you get a chance to actually utilize the tools and also the community that we are all in and a part of. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Do great things. And if you can't right now, just think of when you had done your best before and smile. Wholeness.